Welcome, Patriots, to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi coming to you live from just outside Chicago, streaming to millions worldwide on YouTube, Rumble, and X. This is week 19 of Donald Trump's triumphant return to the White House, and tonight we've got explosive revelations that'll make your head spin. Before we dive in, remember to share the stream right now via text message to bypass big tech censorship. X viewers, repost this to your followers immediately. What sets us apart here is you. We're reading your live reactions throughout the show, so send in those super chats and Rumble rants right now, even before we begin. We'll feature them on screen for the world to see. On this day in history, June 3rd, 1989, the Chinese government crushed pro-democracy protesters at Tiananmen Square, silencing voices demanding freedom. Sound familiar? Well, today we're witnessing American judges trying to crush Trump's democracy-restoring agenda with emergency injunctions while Biden's handlers used a robot pen to sign away our republic. History doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. Now, tonight's first bombshell, Democrats are literally admitting we were right about everything. They're creating blue MAGA hats and stealing our playbook because, as Jesse Waters will reveal, being right sells. CNN's Jake Tapper now says prosecuting Trump was problematic. Where was that honesty during the witch hunts? And second, we'll expose the judicial coup attempts as federal judges issue more injunctions against Trump in 1 month than Biden faced in 3 years. Ted Cruz and Senator Kennedy absolutely destroyed the liberal professors defending this constitutional crisis. You'll see Kennedy tell one professor her opinion is worthless, and she thinks nationwide injunctions taste like pumpkin pie. Third, the Biden Autopen scandal has exploded into a full criminal investigation. The DOJ is probing whether Biden even knew he was signing executive orders and pardons. Sources tell us that Biden pardoned 1.83 people per second. Physically impossible unless you're a robot. Criminal charges are coming for whoever committed this fraud. And fourth, Trump's border policies are crushing the cartels. Fentanyl seizures down 99%. ICE arrested 1,500 criminal aliens in Massachusetts alone. And Palmer Luckey's surveillance towers now cover 35% of the border. We'll show you the South Carolina raid that nabbed 66 cartel members, including Trende Aragua killers. And finally, witness Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt destroy the fake news media as she reveals the Boulder synagogue terrorist was an illegal Biden refused to deport. This Egyptian monster used a flamethrower on Holocaust survivors while screaming about killing Zionist people. This is Biden's America, or should I say, the Autopen's America. So follow us on Rumble and X if you haven't already. We need you on all platforms, and if you want to support independent journalism fighting the establishment, you can check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com for our exclusive merch. Show the world your favorite news source. You can also join YouTube memberships for special chat acknowledgement, exclusive Next News team access, behind-the-scenes content, and our members-only 24/7 Discord community. You want to support us privately? Hit those donation links in the description. Every dollar helps us expose the truth they don't want you to know. So we're about to blow the lid off 5 massive stories that proves the establishment is crumbling and America first is winning. From Democrats going blue MAGA to judges gone wild to Biden's robot signatures to border victories that have the cartels running scared. Buckle up, Patriots. Remember, we'll be featuring your comments between segments, so fire away in that chat. This is your show, your voice, your raw feed. So let's get right into it and welcome you to the show. We got Sabrina and Karen and Robert, Patricia, Mrs. Pothead Kenny, Sorely Bitchin is here, Robin Spielman, R. Boyd, Scott Edwards, Nicole Vandergeest, James Frey, Wyatt Earp, Trina Clark. We got Michael Jones, all worn out. Graham arrested yet, yeah. Jenny Hayes, Deanne Silkett, Sure You Gospel is here. Karen Metcalf, Irving is here. What's up? Catherine, Robin, Resto Guy, R. Boyd, Steve Sither, Golden Jav. We've also got Trina, Chuck T, Michael Jones. What's up? Robin, Nacho Nose, DBDB, El Shara Silverheart. What's up, El Shara? Richard August. Who else is in the house tonight? Michael Jones, Coral W, Corey Mays, Ron J, Mary Patterson, Doug Erdman, Bella Stubblefield, Sabrina, Freeman Pennington, disagreeing with the analogy on Tiananmen Square. Okay. We've got Lori Newland, Ronald Cully, Trina Clark, Michael Jones, Ron G, Dean, I already said that. The Big Lebowski's here. Chino Jr. The gang is all here. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. And there is a super chat. We're going to drop $2 in the super chat jar already. That came in before the show even began, so we thank you for that. Where'd it go? It's not showing up in my super chats, probably because it was before the show, but I did see it come in. So thank you for that. Okay, let's get into our first topic of the night, the political realignment and vindication of the MAGA agenda. Oh, we do have a question first. My bad. Historical multiple choice question. In 1964, which Republican presidential candidate famously declared extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice during a time when his conservative movement was dismissed as radical by the establishment, only to see his ideas vindicated and adopted by Ronald Reagan 16 years later? Was it A, Nelson Rockefeller, B, Barry Goldwater, C, Richard Nixon, or D, George Romney? Okay, so you can answer in the poll, in the chat, or in the comments below. All right, let's get into it. Picture this. Democrats are scrambling to make blue MAGA hats while CNN admits they lied about Trump for years. Liberal media hosts are confessing that Republicans were right about everything from the border to Biden's brain to weaponized justice system. Even dating apps are reporting that saying "I'm MAGA" has become the hottest pickup line in America, with women choosing traditional values over corporate feminism. Wall Street's Kevin O'Leary says that MAGA men have money, and that's what people want. The intellectual bankruptcy of the left is so complete that they're literally copying our movement because they have nothing else to sell. The vindication is absolute, so keep on watching. And here's the hard truth. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half its buying power. This means $100,000 savings today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. You see it everywhere. Gas, groceries, bills, prices up, dollar down. But there's a simple way to protect your savings with something real, something proven. Gold, an asset that holds value over time. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to protect your savings with physical gold or silver. No high-pressure sales, no call centers in India, just honest guidance, one-on-one support, transparent pricing. Head to nextnewsgold.com today or call the number on the screen, 877-646-5347. And when you talk to Colin, tell him Gary said hello, would you? All right, now, just like gold maintains its value when everything else crumbles, the MAGA movement's principles have proven rock solid while the left's house of cards collapses. What we're witnessing isn't just political realignment, it's complete ideological surrender by the Democrat establishment. Jesse Waters dropped the bombshell on Fox that has Washington reeling. Democrats are asking themselves, could blue MAGA revitalize the party? They're not just borrowing our ideas, they're literally making blue hats saying, "Make California great again." This is not satire, folks. This is desperation from a party that spent 4 years lying about border security, inflation, and Biden's cognitive decline. Watch.
Democrats are going full MAGA, blue MAGA. No, seriously, Democrats are asking themselves, quote, could blue MAGA revitalize the party? We hear they're making blue hats that say "Make California great again" and swapping out the Village People for Stevie Wonder. I guess if you just can't beat them, you join them. Democrats are admitting Trump was right about everything.
Nobody comes out looking better than Donald Trump and the MAGA right. Because the things that they were saying, the things that they were accusing the left of, the things that they were accusing legacy media of, whether it's true or not, they look right. They look like they were on point.
Democrats have never admitted we were right about anything, and now they're admitting we were right about everything. I don't even know how to take that. It's never happened before. They're all saying, you got us, we lied.
Democrats just spent 4 years arguing that the border was fine, inflation was not a problem, and Joe Biden was up to the job. And I think that 4 years of that message was really harmful. I think there are a lot. the reasons why.
Wait a second here, Mr. Tapper. You just said Democrats are the ones that were arguing? You were on CNN presenting those as facts, okay? Unbelievable how he's deflecting and trying to push it off to the Democrats when it was him on CNN. Unreal.
There are crises in confidence in the news media, in Democratic Party, in institutions. And I think all of it needs to be hashed out, acknowledged, and discussed.
Yeah, discussed. Disgusted is probably a better word. But there it is, Democrats admitting we were right about everything. Not some things, everything. The border, the economy, Biden's brain, the media lies, total vindication. But it gets better. Jake Tapper, who spent years calling Trump's prosecutions justice, now admits it was problematic when prosecutors ran for office promising to target Trump specifically. Now he's calling out Letitia James and Alvin Bragg for campaigning on prosecuting one man before even identifying a crime. Watch.
This isn't fun anymore. What's the point of having two parties if one side just keeps saying the other side's right? Did Democrats just surrender? Tapper's even saying we were right about lawfare.
I think it is problematic when people run for prosecutor and promise to go after a specific politician. And both Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, and Alvin Bragg, the District Attorney of New York, both of them did that. And that, to me, is problematic because you're not saying this is the offense and we need to bring justice to this perpetrator.
Oh my, this guy makes me so sick. This guy makes me, I don't even know how he can look himself in the mirror at night with the crimes he committed, the lies he spewed. I mean, how can he even go in front of a camera and talk like this? Oh my Lord.
You're saying I'm going to go after him. And I think that there was a degree to which that was tolerated by the media writ large.
I'm glad he's saying it, but why didn't he say it on his show? The guy was on the air for what, 2 hours a day? CNN called it the trial of the century. Now Tapper's saying, yeah, it was all cooked up by Tish and Fat Alvin. It's not like this was even covered up. There was tape of Tish and Bragg saying it. Even Morning Joe's admitting Republicans were right about everything. But they're taking credit for it.
If you were a conservative at Harvard Law School, anytime you opened your mouth, you better have thought through it about 20 different times because you were going to get crushed. Whereas, and here's the important point, now we talk about why the left may be adrift and at loss. The other side of that is the intellectual laziness that occurs every time you open your mouth and they all agree with you. Yeah. And you're part of groupthink. So you never have to defend your ideas. So when you go out and run a campaign and you think everybody's going to agree with you, it's just the opposite.
Oh my goodness. You see, look at my face. I'm watching the clip. I'm going, are you serious? Fat Alvin and Tish cooked it all up. Just like we said. They knew this all along, but stayed silent when it mattered. Now admitting off air while CNN called it the trial of the century. The intellectual collapse goes deeper. Morning Joe's panel revealed why liberals can't defend their positions. They lived in echo chambers for so long, they never had to. At Harvard Law, if you're a conservative, you better think 20 times before speaking because you'll get crushed. But liberals, they speak into a choir of agreement, never challenged, never forced to defend their ideas, and when they finally face real opposition, they crumble. Even the dating scene reflects this seismic shift. Kevin O'Leary reports that "Hi, I'm MAGA" has become the hottest pickup line in deep blue cities. Apps like Date Right Stuff and groups like Make America Hot Again are exploding in places like New York because women are embracing traditional values, looking for men who can provide safety and stability. The girl boss feminism pushed by the left, dead, buried, and gone. Watch.
Hi, I'm MAGA. And you'd actually be interested. It's the new pickup line. Young conservatives are quickly finding out that they are popular after all, even in deep blue cities like New York. There are apps like Date Right Stuff and groups like Make America Hot Again that are taking on these big blue cities. And 20 and 30-somethings who are right-wingers are finding out they no longer have to be silent about their political beliefs. Some young people actually think that values like patriotism are attractive. Women are willing to be what's called a trad wife over a girl boss, or both, and they're looking for a man who can offer them safety.
It's a brave new world. Don't you think, Kevin?
Just like the good old days.
Brave new world.
This is just fantastic.
Hi, I'm MAGA.
It's the values from the 50s. They came back. Everything old is new again. Think about that.
But in this day and age, is that for the man to say or for the woman to say?
Hi,
Oh,
I'm
now
MAGA.
you're getting into gender? Oh, you're getting in trouble right now.
Well, I think both. Some liberal women think it's fascinating if they go for a MAGA man. They just want to have the experience.
Really?
Also, MAGA man sounds good, right? It's all about la
masculinity.
mode. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just think this is great. This is what we should spend the whole hour talking
And a
about.
lot of men are saying we want to pay for dates.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
They're sick of being emasculated.
Yeah. And MAGA men have money, don't they? MAGA men have money.
Isn't
That's a
that
good slogan.
the oldest profession you're talking about?
Quiet on the set.
Stopped for a while.
Thank you, Laura.
MAGA men have money, and that's what people want. The values of the 50s are back because they work. Everything old is new again when the new stuff fails spectacularly. The policy vindication extends to Trump's economic agenda. Senator Tim Sheehy expanded on how the one big beautiful bill will make tax cuts permanent, secure the border, and rebuild our military, exactly what Trump campaigned on. Without this bill, working families face the largest tax increase in history. A family making $50,000 would see their taxes jump by $2,500. Watch.
I think we'll get it done. It's going to be a wrestling match, but, Speaker Johnson got it through by Memorial Day. Everyone said that wasn't going to happen. They got it done. We're going to do the same over here at the Senate. And I think it's important to remember what this bill is and what it is not. This is not an omnibus spending bill. This is not authorizing multiple years of government spending. What this is doing is a targeted bill to focus on making the tax cuts permanent from 2017 to stabilize our tax code and give predictability to businesses and individuals, and it's providing unprecedented funding for border security and rebuilding our military, which are two critical areas not only the president campaign on, but the American people have been very clear they want to see those areas addressed, in addition to infrastructure investment like FAA upgrades to ATC, which are sorely needed.
So this isn't omnibus spending spree. It's targeted relief for Americans, working Americans, while securing our nation. It's the opposite of Biden's approach. CNN's own analysts now admit they can't get clean economic data because partnership has infected polling in an unprecedented manner. Translation? People's politics determine whether they'll admit the economy's good or bad. Democrats refuse to acknowledge Trump's successes even when their own wallets are benefited. Watch.
The poll also asks which party best reflects their view on a range of issues. And when it comes to crime, the economy, immigration, Republicans still hold an advantage, although actually those numbers are starting to slip. How did you think about this poll as you were looking through?
I couldn't help but be reminded about a big problem in my part of the world, the econ part of the world. We can't get a clean read on how consumers feel about the economy because the data has been infected by partisanship, really in an unprecedented manner. So,
meaning your partisanship reflects whether or not you think the economy is good or not?
Do people think the economy is not doing well, or do they just not like who's in the White House? This is a huge problem right now, and it's making it impossible to get that clarity that economists like to see about how consumers are doing. Do they intend to spend? Makes it impossible to forecast.
They can't even trust their own data anymore because Trump derangement syndrome broke their ability to process reality. Scott Jennings delivered the knockout punch on CNN, asking why anyone should trust Democrats on economics when they lie about obvious issues. If you can't tell the truth about 95% issues, why believe you on anything? Watch.
Well, I just disagree with David. I think working class Americans see Donald Trump as fighting for them, and they see the Democratic Party elites as being out of touch with them, not just on the economy, but on a range of issues. I think these things are more interconnected than you want to believe. And, if you can't trust what a Democrat says about, something that seems like an 80-20 or a 90-10 or a 95-5 issue, then why would I trust you when you're out here crapping on Donald Trump's economic agenda? And by the way, I don't believe that people are going away from the president on his economic policies. They do believe he's fighting for working class Americans. They do believe he is, the things he is doing are more for Main Street than Wall Street right now. And I do believe he has a longer leash than you're giving him right now to enact his agenda, which is still unfolding, of course, in the Congress right now.
Working class Americans see Trump fighting for them while Democrat elites remain hopelessly out of touch on everything. Senators McCormick and Marshall, they're already seeing results. Manufacturing jobs are exploding thanks to Trump's tariffs. The Trump tax cuts alone will drive significant growth by making research and development fully deductible. We're witnessing the birth of a new economy built on American strength, not globalist weakness. Watch.
The most important thing to recognize is by passing this legislation, we avoid the largest tax increase in history, which would be devastating to working families. A family that makes $50,000 would have a $2,000, $2,500 increase in their taxes. We got to do that. We got to have the funding to secure the border, which the House bill does, and defense. I think we can do more to reduce expenses. You know, the Government Accountability Office says there's $500 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse. We need to make sure illegal immigrants aren't receiving Medicaid. We need to protect Medicaid for the vulnerable people for whom it's for.
The largest tax increase in history has been avoided. Working families are protected. The economy is roaring back. Here's more.
Already back home, I'm seeing manufacturing jobs grow and grow and grow that we can't keep up with the orders, and I think that's probably because of President Trump's tariffs. I think the deregulation will add a 0.5%, maybe a 1% growth. I think those are the first steps, but it's just this general attitude that we're the start of a new economy. I think that the American consumer still drives the economy in so many ways, and I think that this tax bill alone is going to drive up growth as well. By making those Trump tax cuts permanent, it's going to give us significant growth. I think about R&D especially is going to allow this economy to grow if we're able to write all of that off each year.
Deregulation will add another full percent of growth, and this is only the beginning of the American economic renaissance. The MAGA vindication is complete. Democrats have no ideas left except to copy ours. Their intellectual bankruptcy is so total that they're literally asking if becoming blue MAGA can save them. Well, the answer is no. You can't fake authenticity. You can't copy conviction. You can't manufacture a movement that comes from the heart of the American people. And we were right. They were wrong. And now everybody knows it. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. Now, this is not just political victory. It's the complete vindication of everything we've been saying for years. When Democrats literally copy our movement and call it blue MAGA, you know that we've won the argument. When CNN admits the prosecutions were cooked up, when Morning Joe confesses their intellectual laziness, and when even dating apps prove conservative values are what people actually want, that's not just winning, that's cultural dominance. The establishment spent years calling us extremists and racists and threats to democracy. Now they're desperately trying to become us because they have nothing else to offer. So here's the brutal truth. You can't fake what we have. You can't manufacture authenticity of a movement built on defending working families, securing borders, and putting America first. So do you think Democrats adopting blue MAGA proves that they've completely given up on their own failed ideology? Drop your answer in the comments. And while you're fired up, check out our merch shop, link below, and wear your principles with pride. Okay, moving right along. We've got Craig dropping $10 super chat. Nebraska reporting for duty. Great to be here at this time of day. Please hit that like button. Thanks, Gary, for all you do. Well, thank you, Craig, for dropping the $10 in the jar. We got your 10 spot right here. And Brian already putting up the answer. Yes, Barry Goldwater was the answer. You guys got it right. Barry Goldwater, his conservative revolution was mocked as extreme. Was mocked as extreme in 1964, but Reagan proved him right in 1980, just like Trump vindicated our movement today. Okay, moving right along, we're going to showcase some of the highlights from the press conference today. Our cameras were in the room. But first, we have our next trivia question. In 1974, which White House press secretary became the first and only one to ever resign in protest, refusing to lie about President Nixon's involvement in Watergate, setting a standard for truth that today's media has abandoned? A. Ron Ziegler. B. Jared Terhorst. C. Ron Nessen. Or D. Jody Powell? I don't know the answer to this. We're going to find out after this, but you can weigh in the chat room, in the poll, or in the comments. All right, moving into our next segments. The White House briefing room just became a battlefield. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt dropping truth bombs that have the fake news media running for cover. She's exposing how Biden let a terrorist who wanted to kill all Jews stay in America on an expired visa. She's revealing that ICE just arrested 1,500 violent criminals in Massachusetts, including, well, people that did unspeakable things to children. She's calling out the Washington Post for their mysterious fentanyl decline headline when Trump's policies are obviously working. The media can't handle a press secretary who fights back with facts. They're used to being coddled, not confronted. What happens when the most powerful podium in America starts telling truths the establishment wants buried? Well, you're about to find out, so keep on watching. And just as Caroline Leavitt strips away media lies, you can reveal the truth. You can strip away years from your appearance with the right collagen support. As we age, collagen production drops dramatically by our 40s. We're losing about 1% yearly, and that's why I use Ageless Multi-Collagen. It features 5 key collagen types from 4 premium sources, all hydrolyzed for easy absorption, no clumping, no odor, just smooth blending into your morning routine. Plus, it's clean, no GMOs, no artificial ingredients, no hormones, and every order helps feed hungry children through nokidhungry.org. So if you want to support that and your body, visit healthwithgary.com for 51% off today. You'll find it linked in the description. And just like collagen rebuilds what time breaks down, Caroline Leavitt is rebuilding trust in the White House press office by demolishing years of media deception. And what we witnessed in today's briefing was nothing short of a masterclass in combating fake news with cold, hard facts. The briefing opened with Leavitt addressing the Boulder attack that the mainstream media tried to bury. She revealed the horrifying truth. The attacker was an Egyptian national who entered America illegally during the Biden administration, overstayed his visa, and was given work authorization instead of deportation. This monster used a makeshift flamethrower to attack Jewish Americans, including a Holocaust survivor, while they rallied for Israeli hostages. Watch.
I want to start by addressing the horrific act of violence that took place on Sunday in Boulder, Colorado. President Trump and the entire administration's hearts go out to the victims, and they are in our prayers during this unimaginable time. According to reporting from Fox News, the alleged attacker admitted in an interview that he wanted to kill all Zionist people and had been planning the attack for over a year and would do it again if he could. This monster used a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to light Jewish Americans on fire in an attempt to burn them alive. The victims at the incident location in Boulder were there to rally in support of Israeli hostages who remain in Hamas captivity. 12 were injured, including a Holocaust survivor. This is pure evil. The Department of Justice has already filed federal hate crime charges against the alleged perpetrator, and he will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. This tragedy is a sobering reminder of the consequences of the Biden administration's failed policies. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the Boulder suspect is an Egyptian national who was in the United States illegally. He entered the U.S. during the Biden administration in August 2022 on a B-2 visa until it expired. Upon the visa expiration, he overstayed, filed an asylum claim, and was given a work authorization by the Biden administration. Instead of deporting this heinous individual, Joe Biden's administration allowed him to stay in our country and to work. President Trump sounded the alarm over these reckless Biden policies for years because this is the predictable result of letting anti-American radicals and illegal immigrants pour into our country. Immigration security is national security. And that's why the Trump administration, at the direction of our great president, has secured our border, strengthened our immigration system, and has taken immediate steps to protect the United States from foreign terrorists and other public safety threats. President Trump acted swiftly upon taking office to reform our visa issuance process to ensure that dangerous aliens who are intent on harming Americans or our national security interests are no longer admitted into our country. Under the Trump administration, aliens will only be admitted into the United States through the legal process and only if they do not bear hostile attitudes towards our citizens, our culture, our government, our institutions, or most importantly, our founding principles. Under President Trump, the United States has zero tolerance for foreign visitors who support terrorism. Violators of U.S. law, including international students, will continue to face visa denial or revocation and deportation. And illegal alien criminals will continue to be arrested and deported from our country.
Pure evil, enabled by Biden's refusal to enforce immigration law. This terrorist literally told authorities that he wanted to kill all Zionist people, and Biden let him stay. But Leavitt was just getting warmed up. She detailed Operation Patriot in Massachusetts, where ICE arrested nearly 1,500 illegal aliens in a state that calls itself a sanctuary. Over half had serious criminal convictions. The list of crimes will make your blood boil. Aggravated homicide, unspeakable acts to children, kidnapping, murder. One Brazilian was charged with, I don't even want to say these words, what they did to a child in possession of unspeakable images. Watch.
On that note, ICE and federal law enforcement partners just wrapped up a month-long surge operation arresting nearly 1,500 illegal aliens in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. During the enhanced operation, dubbed Operation Patriot, ICE Boston and other federal law enforcement personnel focused on transnational organized crime, gangs, and dangerous illegal alien offenders throughout Mass. More than half of the nearly 1,500 illegals arrested had significant criminal convictions or charges pending against them. Here are just some of the violent illegal aliens who were removed from communities in Massachusetts during Operation Patriot. A Salvadorian national with active Interpol red notice for aggravated homicide. A Guatemalan national and registered sex offender who had pending criminal charges in Boston for 5 counts of indecent assault and battery on a person 14 or over. A Honduran national who was last arrested for rape, indecent assault, and battery of a person 14 or over. A Colombian national charged with kidnapping, aggravated rape, and indecent assault and battery on a person 14 or over. And a Guatemalan national who was convicted of murder in Boston. Also, a Brazilian national who was charged with aggravated rape of a child by force and possession of child pornography. Again, these are people who are living in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And lastly, a Salvadorian national whose criminal history includes charges of aggravated rape of a child by force. I don't think anybody in this room wants these types of heinous criminals in your communities. And it's thanks to this administration that they are being removed from our country. When Democrat-run jurisdictions released violent illegal alien criminals back into communities after making arrests instead of turning them over to federal immigration enforcement like they should, those Democrats are putting law-abiding Americans at risk. And these insane policies force law enforcement officials to make much more difficult arrests that put their lives, our law enforcement lives, in jeopardy. President Trump is incredibly grateful for our heroic officers on the front lines getting these violent illegal alien invaders out of our communities. Law and order is back in America under President Trump.
Law and order is back. These are the immigrants that Democrats protected while calling Trump racist for wanting them deported. People doing unspeakable acts to children walking free in Massachusetts because liberals value virtue signaling over children's safety. Then came the moment that exposed media manipulation at its worst. The Washington Post published a headline calling the massive drop in fentanyl seizures at our border mysterious. And Leavitt absolutely torched them for this deliberate deception. I mean, there's nothing mysterious about it. Trump's border policies are working. Mexico deployed troops, surveillance increased, cartels are running scared. Watch.
The Washington Post just ran one of the most ridiculous headlines ever, even by their standards. And on my very first briefing several months ago, I said I would hold anyone accountable in this room. The Washington Post actually had this headline, "The Mysterious Drop in Fentanyl Seizures on the U.S.-Mexico Border." How is this mysterious? There is no mystery about why there is a decrease in fentanyl coming into the United States. This administration's strong border policies are the reason there has been a decrease in fentanyl trafficking. His strengthened relationship with Mexican President Sheinbaum and all of the measures he has been taking to deter illegal human and drug trafficking at our United States southern border is the reason for plummeting fentanyl seizures at the U.S. border. There is nothing mysterious about that, and we'd like to see the Washington Post update their headline accordingly. This is clearly trying to intentionally manipulate the minds of the Americans, and I think the American people understand why there's been a fentanyl drop. And our office responded to this inquiry. We provided a whole host of the reasons that fentanyl seizures at the southern border have dropped, and the Washington Post refused to run them, and that's despicable.
The Post refused to run the administration's explanation because it would credit Trump. That's not journalism. That's called propaganda. The economic news Levitt delivered should be front-page material everywhere. Inflation dropped to 2.1%. Personal income increased 0.8%, triple what experts expected. The trade deficit saw its largest monthly decline on record thanks to Trump's tariffs. And here's the kicker. Egg prices dropped 61% since Trump took office. Watch.
Positive economic reports continue to flood in. Inflation dropped to 2.1% in April. Personal income increased 0.8% in April. So inflation is down and wages are up. That's almost triple the expectations and against the doubts of nearly everyone in this room. And we also saw the largest monthly decline in the trade deficit on record as a result of President Trump's very powerful tariffs. Lastly, the price of eggs has dropped more than 61% since President Trump took office in January. I remember my very first briefing, I was asked about the cost of eggs. The reporter tried to insinuate it was this administration's fault, even though he had only been here for a few days or weeks. It was a result of the previous administration's terrible policies, and in record time, this president has fixed that problem that he inherited from Joe Biden, and now egg prices have dropped 61% since this president took office.
Remember when the media blamed Trump for expensive eggs during his first weeks? Now that he fixed Biden's mess, crickets from the press. When asked about anti-Semitic violence, Levitt didn't mince words. This administration has done more to combat anti-Semitism than any in history. And she delivered a powerful message directly to Jewish Americans that this president has their back, unlike the previous administration that wouldn't even acknowledge the targeting of Jews. Watch.
The president has made it very clear, as he said in his statement yesterday, that yes, these anti-Semitic acts of violence are do qualify as terrorism, and he does not want to see terrorism or violence of any form taking place in the United States of America. And as for specifically anti-Semitic terrorism and anti-Semitic acts of violence and those that are targeting Jewish Americans, this administration has done more to combat that violence than any administration in history. And one incident is one too many. And I think, frankly, that's something the previous administration was not willing to say. This president will stand up for Americans of all religions, of all faiths, of all creeds, and we will continue to look at policy measures and actions that we can take in addition to the actions that have already been taken to curb this anti-Semitic violence. And to Jewish Americans at home, across the country, this president has your back.
That's what real leadership looks like, naming the evil and promising to destroy it. On foreign policy, she reminded the press of what Trump accomplished in just 4 months. Last year, when direct talks between Russia and Ukraine were inconceivable, now they're happening because Trump demanded it. Special Envoy Witkoff delivered a detailed proposal to Iran with a clear message. Accept it or face grave consequences. Watch.
I would just like to remind everybody how far we have come in just 4 months. I mean, it was inconceivable last year at this time for Russia and Ukraine to be engaged in direct talks. And it's because of the president's insistence and determination to get this war to an end that these countries sat down yesterday. So he's willing to use sanctions if he needs them, and the Senate and the Capitol Hill understand that the president is the commander-in-chief and he's leading United States foreign policy as he should.
No more pallets of cash. No more weakness, just American strength forcing our enemies to the table. Watch.
The president made his position very clear on Truth Social last night. In fact, it couldn't be any more clear, and I would reiterate that's his position. Special Envoy Witkoff sent a very detailed and acceptable proposal to the Iranian regime that the president hopes they will accept, and if not, they will face grave consequences, as the president himself has reiterated.
Iran knows that Trump means business. Every rogue regime on earth is adjusting to the new reality. Perhaps the most revealing moment, though, came when Leavitt exposed the Congressional Budget Office as a partisan joke. Not a single CBO staffer has donated to Republicans since 2000, but they donate to Democrats every cycle. They were wrong about Trump's 2017 tax cuts by $500 billion, yet media treats their biased analyses as gospel. Watch.
I would add the Congressional Budget Office has been historically wrong. In fact, they predicted the Trump tax cuts from the president's first term in 2017. Their prediction was wrong by $500 billion. Those tax cuts had nearly $500 billion more of revenue than the Congressional Budget Office scored. And I would also point out, I don't think many people know this, there hasn't been a single staffer in the entire Congressional Budget Office that has contributed to a Republican since the year 2000. But guess what? There have been many staffers within the Congressional Budget Office who have contributed to Democrat candidates and politicians every single cycle since. So unfortunately, this is an institution in our country that has become partisan and political, and we are very confident in our own economic analyses of this bill. There is $1.6 trillion in savings, and our Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, is a fiscal hawk. He is well known in this city for being a well-respected fiscal hawk. He has tools at his disposal to produce even more savings. And as you know, the White House will be sending our rescissions package to Capitol Hill today.
The entire system is rigged against conservatives, but we're winning anyway. She also destroyed the BBC for publishing multiple false headlines about Israel killing civilians, only to retract them after all footage was reviewed showed nothing. She declared the Trump administration doesn't take Hamas' word as truth, unlike some in the media. Watch.
There are now reports that Israeli forces are firing on Palestinians trying to get aid from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Up to 20 people, according to the Red Cross, have arrived to the hospital that they've set up with gunshot wounds, have died from them. Is this administration aware of these? And I mean, what is being done to address this situation?
The administration is aware of those reports, and we are currently looking into the veracity of them because, unfortunately, unlike some in the media, we don't take the word of Hamas with total truth. We like to look into it when they speak. Unlike the BBC, who had multiple headlines, they wrote, Israeli tank kills 26, Israeli tank kills 21, Israeli gunfire kills 31, Red Cross says 21 people were killed in an aid incident, and then, oh wait, they had to correct and take down their entire story, saying we reviewed the footage and couldn't find any evidence of anything. Oh. Okay, so we're going to look into reports before we confirm them from this podium or before we take action, and I suggest that journalists who actually care about truth do the same to reduce the amount of misinformation that's going around the globe on this front.
Finally, someone calling out media blood libels against Israel from the White House podium. When baited about Pride Month proclamations, Leavitt shut it down perfectly. Trump is president for all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed. No special months, no identity politics, just equal treatment under the law. Watch.
Does the president have any plans on making a proclamation, or is it just going to be June this year?
Well, there are no plans for a proclamation for the month of June, but I can tell you this president is very proud to be a president for all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed.
American pride. That's what it is. And that's how you handle gotcha questions with clarity and conviction. So the press briefing was more than just answering questions. It was a declaration of war against media lies. Every fake narrative was destroyed with facts. Every manipulation was exposed with truth. The days of propaganda disguised as journalism are over. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Caroline Leavitt just showed America what happens when truth meets lies head on. No more cowering before fake news, no more letting propaganda pass as journalism. She exposed Biden's protection of a synagogue terrorist, revealing the child rapist Democrat shield in sanctuary cities, and demolished the Washington Post's refusal to credit Trump for crushing fentanyl trafficking. This is what we've needed for decades. A press secretary who doesn't just answer questions, but destroys false narratives with documented facts. The media, well, they're panicking now because they can't manipulate someone who comes prepared with receipts. Every briefing exposes their bias, their lies, and their desperate attempt to prop up failed policies while ignoring Trump's success. The contrast with Biden's press team is staggering. We went from covering up cognitive decline to exposing criminal aliens. So here's the question. Should press briefings include fact-checking journalists in real time, like Levitt did to the BBC? Let me know your thoughts below. And support truth-telling of the Next News Network by grabbing your gear, because we are White House credentialed, and we're in the room. Okay, let's see what you guys said. You guys said it was A, Ron Ziegler, 47%. I'm sorry, the answer was actually B, Gerald Terhorst. He resigned after just 30 days rather than lie about Nixon's pardon, proving real press secretaries tell the truth, just like Caroline Levitt did today. Yeah, Brian, they got it wrong. Maybe you guys will get this next one. Let's see. In 1974, which sitting president was discovered to have used an auto signature machine called the Autopen for routine correspondence, sparking the first major debate about whether mechanically reproduced signatures were legally valid for official documents? Was it A, Richard Nixon, B, Gerald Ford, C, Lyndon Johnson, or D, Richard Nixon? Answer in the poll, in the chat, or in the comments. All right, moving right along to our next segment. Imagine discovering that the President of the United States didn't actually sign the laws destroying your country. That thousands of pardons, including for his own family, were signed by a machine while he vacationed. That executive orders opening our borders and crippling our energy were penned by ghosts using a robot. This is not a thriller novel. This is the Biden Autopen scandal exploding in real time. The DOJ just launched a criminal investigation into whether Biden was mentally competent or if shadowy figures forged his signature for historic decisions. Sources say that Biden pardoned almost 2 people per second, which is physically impossible unless you're not human. So who is really running America? Well, the evidence is shocking, and the implications are terrifying, and criminal charges are coming. So keep watching. We have all the details. And just as Biden's Autopen signed documents he never saw, your children's minds are being signed over to radical ideologies they never chose. That's why the Tuttle Twins created Liberty First content that teaches kids real economics, personal responsibility, and constitutional principles. Their monthly magazine uses comics, activities, and real-world lessons to combat indoctrination. As Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation from extinction. So don't let schools program your children with socialist propaganda while you're not looking. Arm them with truth. Subscribe to the Tuttle Twins magazine for just $56 per year at TuttleTwins.com/next. Teach them to think, not what to think. And our family is a proud subscriber to the Tuttle Twins magazine. This group, these artists and creators have a special place in our heart, and that's why we are honored to present them to you guys. So we hope you will support this effort. Now, just as we protect our children's minds from ideological forgery, we must protect our republic from the ultimate fraud, a president who didn't even sign his own presidency. What the DOJ is uncovering about Biden's Autopen abuse makes Watergate look like jaywalking. DOJ pardon attorney Ed Martin is investigating whether Biden was, quote, competent and whether others were taking advantage of him through the use of the Autopen or other means. This is not about convenience. It's about whether we had a functioning president or a puppet show. Watch.
On the morning of Inauguration Day, the Biden family pardons were a surprise to us, but were they also a surprise to Joe Biden? That's what officials here want to know. The new scrutiny is on Biden-era pardons, so that would include preemptive pardons for his sister Valerie, his brother Frank, his brother James, and his wife Sarah, and then also for Trump critics like Mark Milley, Anthony Fauci, and Liz Cheney. This is coming today from a Reuters report where it says, Ed Martin, the Justice Department's pardon attorney, wrote in an email seen by Reuters that the investigation involves whether Biden was competent and whether others were taking advantage of him through use of Autopen or other means.
So the investigation covers Biden family pardons and clemency decisions. Criminal fraud committed at the highest level while America burned. The evidence is staggering. The Heritage Foundation's oversight project found that practically every one of Biden's 162 executive orders was signed by an Autopen. Every order except one, his withdrawal from the presidential race. Think about that. The only document we know Biden signed himself was quitting. President Trump exposed this scandal when he asked House Republicans who was operating the Autopen. You know, who signed it? Radical lunatics who are running our country. He's now referring to the previous administration as the Autopen because that's who was actually in charge. Take a look at this tweet right here. The Autopen should have stopped Iran a long time ago from enriching under our potential agreement. We will not allow any enrichment of uranium. The Autopen, right? That's what he's saying. Now, the mathematical impossibility of Biden's pardons proves the fraud. On December 30th of 2022, Biden supposedly pardoned 6 criminals while vacationing and golfing in the Virgin Islands. All pardons show identical Autopen signatures. All claim to be signed in the city of Washington, while Biden was thousands of miles away. Yeah, there's Biden. There he is, golfing. Biden escapes his luxury St. Croix villa to play golf. In the background, Autopens doing the work. But here's a smoking gun that should trigger immediate arrest. Analysis shows that Biden pardoned over 2,000 people in a single day. That's 83.33 people per hour, or 1.38 people per second. Unless Biden developed superhuman signing speed while his brain turned to mush, somebody else was running the pardon machine. Watch.
About Joe Biden's use of an Autopen. I mean, I think we can call this a scandal. Breitbart reports that a watchdog found criminal evidence of impersonating the president. Energy expert Daniel Turner tells Breitbart that there was at least 8 major actions by Biden that were signed by Autopen. He didn't sign it at all. And they reportedly had the same Autopen signatures. No names have come to light on this yet. But Brian, where is the accountability on all of this?
Well, sources are telling me, and we've got to be very patient on the timeline here, but sources are telling me they are aggressively looking into this, and there will be accountability for what some would describe as criminal activity. I'll give you an example. At one point during the Biden administration, he pardoned over 2,000 people in one single day. That would equivalent to 83.33 people per hour, and that would almost be 1.38 people per second. It's impossible. We know that did not happen. People covered up for the president, and that's just for pardons. And there's, like you mentioned, numerous events, actions that the president supposedly supported and was behind, but sources are telling me that they are digging into this, and there will be accountability for this.
I think it's about time. It seems overdue. Now, Brian, we are out of time with you, but I have to ask this last question. You know, one person came to light, said that there were 8 major actions with the use of the Autopen. Do you foresee that we're going to see even more actions that had the use of the Autopen? Is this the tip of the iceberg?
I think it is. I think it is. We all witnessed the decline of Joe Biden almost on a daily basis, or every time we saw him in the public eye. So you can only speculate that this had been going on for a long time. And so you're going to see far more events, far more actions that people covered up and use that Autopen. And let's just see. But I'm going to once again say, be patient on this. I know that a lot of times we want something in the next news cycle for some type of, indictments or anything like that. But just be patient on that. But it's coming.
All right. Patience is key. Brian Glenn, we know as soon as those details do come out, you will be the first one on it for it.
Sources confirm they're aggressively investigating with criminal charges expected. This goes beyond pardons to major energy policies that crippled America. And Peter Doocy, our cameras captured the moment in the press room, delivered the evidence that blows this wide open. He showed how every Biden pardon signature is identically perfect except one. Hunter Biden's pardon shows a completely different signature, suggesting it's the only one Joe actually signed himself. The B in Biden looks nothing like the Autopen version. Let's go now to our exclusive camera in the White House press briefing room.
Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. When you look at these last-minute Biden pardons, the big ones, Biden siblings, Fauci, January 6th committee.
That's right.
Most of the big ones have the same very neat signature. You would expect that probably to be the Autopen. There is one that looks different. It looks authentic. In fact, if you look at the last name, it almost looks like the president was having a hard time spelling his last name there. Is this White House of the opinion that the only pardon that would count is one that the president signed himself?
It's very interesting. Very interesting props. If you want to bring them to my office later so I can take a closer look, I would like to do that. The president is making a good point when he discusses the usage of the Autopen. Who was running the country for the past 4 years? Perhaps those documents were signed with the Autopen, something that this, I believe the Department of Justice is looking into. As you saw, Ed Martin made an announcement at the Department of Justice this morning to launch an investigation because the American people deserve answers.
Is there any concern that this president, who won the election on a promise to fix the economy and close the border, that focusing and scrutinizing these Biden pardons is looking into the past instead of looking forward?
I think in comparison to the amount of time this president has spent on securing the border, on fixing our economy, I just read out for you an entire list of economic accomplishments. Look at the border numbers, look at the time and effort he's divulged into solving the global conflicts abroad. It pales in comparison, but it still, nevertheless, is a very important issue. And it was a huge issue that sent the president back to this White House. Americans saw with their own eyes a mentally incompetent president, and they want answers for that. And the president believes they should have.
We should have those answers. Ducey asked a critical question. If Biden used Autopen for these pardons, are they legally valid? The answer could overturn everything. And Natalie Winters just connected the dots between Biden's Autopen scandal and the deep state conspiracy we've been warning about for years. She explains how an administration could function for 4 years without a president who was mentally absent, proving unelected bureaucrats were really running the show. And her brutal assessment cuts right to the heart of this constitutional crisis. Watch.
A lot of the reason why the American people voted for President Trump was this idea that they're tired of these unelected bureaucrats making decisions. And the fact that you could have had a president who mentally was so absent for so long, right? Essentially no cognizance. I believe I've previously described him as essentially dead, and that you could have had an administration go on, create all the havoc it did, not just here but abroad, for 4 years, shows you that that presidential role really has become sort of ceremonial and performative, and that these unelected, whether they're admin officials, career servants, political servants, take your pick, that they're the ones who are making the decisions. And that is what the American people are really, really upset about, and that's why you see President Trump going after what's perhaps called the deep state. I think that's too nice or cutesy a term. This is the permanent political class, these unelected bureaucrats who have their own set of policy, and it shows that you could literally have a dead president for 4 years, and they will run cover for him. And now these people want to lecture me that I'm not good enough at my job. Okay, I never covered up for someone who's basically dead.
Basically dead. That's what we had in the White House while bureaucrats forged his signature and destroyed America. The permanent political class ran cover for a vegetable, and now they want to lecture us about democracy. And Caroline Leavitt confirmed the DOJ investigation, stating the question isn't just about whether Autopen was used, but whether Biden knew it was being used. If not, whoever used it committed federal crimes by impersonating the president. Let's go now to our exclusive camera in the White House briefing room.
If the DOJ finds that the Autopen was used by President Biden, should those actions that were used with the Autopen, should they be null and void?
I'm not going to get ahead of the Department of Justice's investigation into the usage of the Autopen. And the question is not, was the Autopen used? It's whether or not the President of the United States knew it was being used, and if not, who was using it in his name, which is clearly illegal behavior.
Using the president's signature without authorization is illegal behavior that undermines our entire constitutional system. Energy advocacy group Power the Future found 8 major Biden energy orders with identical Autopen signatures. These orders destroyed American energy independence, killed jobs, and empowered our enemies, all potentially signed by unelected bureaucrats while Biden napped. Watch.
The energy group Power the Future is claiming President Biden's silence on key energy executive orders suggests they may have been crafted by ghostwriters or even signed off by an Autopen machine. They're raising concerns about transparency and who's really steering America's energy policy. Janae Bowens from the fact team joining us now. The Autopen has been making headlines recently, and while legal to use, in hindsight, some are raising concerns.
Exactly, Dee Dee. And just for context, an Autopen machine is a device that physically holds a pen and replicates a person's signature. Now, it's different from a stamp or a printed signature. The machine actually signs for the person. And according to the Department of Justice, in a 2005 memo, it's legal for a president to use an Autopen.
Power the Future isn't the only group that is raising concerns, raising questions right now. Back in March, President Trump claimed that some of Biden's pardons were actually invalid because of the Autopen. What did you find?
Yeah, so the idea really picked up in March when President Trump said Biden's use of an Autopen could make some of his orders and pardons invalid. Now, this was after the Conservative Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project released a report claiming many of Biden's signatures came from an Autopen. And they questioned whether Biden personally authorized those decisions.
A heated debate for sure, and it sounds like Congress is getting involved to look into this further. Janae, thank you. Janae's going to be back in a few moments to discuss the investigation now into Biden's Autopen use.
And speaking of Congress, Speaker Mike Johnson revealed Biden didn't even remember signing the order that banned LNG exports. Biden looked stunned and insisted, "I didn't do that." The scandal deepens with each revelation. Sean Hannity confronted the former Biden aide, Michael LaRosa, who claimed he never saw Biden's cognitive decline, and Hannity's response was perfect. "I don't believe you. I think you're full of crap." Watch.
Michael, you're going to come on this program, and you're going to look America in the eye, and you're going to tell us that you did not see any cognitive decline in Joe Biden, because we saw it, we chronicled it, starting in 2019. You're going to tell us that?
Well, I am, because I've been very consistent about that, Sean, with all of your colleagues on all of the Fox News programming since I left the White House and at the end of 2022, that my 3 years
Michael, let me interrupt you.
In the White House.
Michael.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I think you're full of crap.
I think you're full of crap. They all knew. They all covered it up. They let a vegetable signature get forged while America suffered. The implications are staggering. If Biden didn't sign these documents, they are legally void. Every executive order opening our borders, void. Every pardon for his corrupt family, void. Every policy destroying American energy, void. The entire Biden presidency might be legally invalid. Trump himself has declared these Autopen pardons void, vacant, and of no further force or effect. He's not playing games. When you forge the president's signature to pardon criminals and destroy America, guess what? You go to prison. Some might dismiss this as conspiracy theory, but Trump himself admits using Autopen for birthday letters to kids, not pardons and executive orders. There's a massive difference between sending congratulations and signing laws. Watch.
What am I doing here? Biden doesn't know he's alive.
Biden doesn't exist.
Could be the first AI thing.
Leading tech companies.
US President Donald Trump has shared a wild conspiracy theory that claimed former President Joe Biden had actually been executed in 2020 and replaced by soulless, mindless clones and/or robots.
If you look at Joe from 10, 20 years ago and the Joe now, I am not going to gaslight myself into believing that is the same person. And there's also photos and him on camera where it looks like he's scrunching a mask.
Oh my gosh, that's a mask.
Without commenting on the merits of the conspiracy theory, Trump shared a post on Truth Social from a little-known user with fewer than 1,000 followers, stating that there is no Joe Biden executed in 2020. Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Democrats don't know the difference.
Bro, is that Joe Biden? Bro, I swear to God. What the
That's not real, dude.
That's real. Look at the size of his legs. Look at how much taller he is than Jill. He's never that much taller than Jill. Jill's wearing heels, son. He's towering over her. That's a giant Biden.
It is unclear why Trump shared the post, but he is known for trolling his critics on social media.
Trump could be trolling his people to make people believe this is real.
Or maybe this man really believed that Joe Biden is a robot. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. If Biden started tweaking out and started shape-shifting and his eye turns to a reptilian.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to
President Trump has frequently bashed his predecessor, who is now subject to renewed scrutiny over his mental acuity amid the release of the book Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again.
Guy doesn't know he's alive.
He's shot.
The guy's shot. Biden is shot. You know he's shot, right? He's shot, just so we understand.
Why is he so fixated on you and blaming you for everything?
I beat him.
Trump has publicly suggested that Biden wasn't fully in control of his administration due to his use of Autopen to sign key documents, something that the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee are investigating.
I mean, I think the Autopen is going to become one of the great scandals of all time.
Looked like we had an Autopen for a president.
I understand he signed almost everything with an Autopen. It's a very dangerous thing. It really means you're not president.
Did he know what he was doing? Did he authorize it? Or is this somebody in an office, maybe a radical left lunatic, just signing whatever that person was?
Congressional Republicans have been investigating Biden's health while he served as commander-in-chief after revelations that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer that spread to his bones.
We're bringing the doctor in because the doctor was the one that said that Joe Biden was competent, that he was at the top of his game, that he was a picture of health. I don't think there's anyone in America, especially anyone with a medical degree, that believes anything this doctor has said about Joe Biden publicly while he was president.
Trump himself is no stranger to spreading baseless conspiracy theories, including unfounded claims that the 2020 election was stolen and that Haitian immigrants are eating pets.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Okay, let's just make it clear. Those are not baseless conspiracy theories. Okay, so we're actually presenting a clip here from news.com AU. So just take it all with a grain of salt. There's some good information here, but there's also some other stuff that I don't quite think passes.
They're eating the pets.
He has also targeted prior presidents with false theories, which included claims that former President Barack Obama was born outside of the United States, which he would eventually recant.
I assumed that he was born in the United States, meaning in Hawaii. I assumed.
Okay, well, we all know that Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Okay.
That. The more I go into it, the more suspect it is.
1 minute later.
President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period.
Conversely, Trump's own wife, Melania Trump, has been a subject of a similar conspiracy to the Biden clone theory, with the
Okay, enough of that. Let's just get back to it, because the conspiracy goes so deep. Trump actually reportedly claims, as you saw, Biden was executed in 2020 and replaced with soulless entities. While it does sound insane, it's really crazier than discovering the president's signature was fake for 4 years. So this isn't about technicalities, it's about the fundamental question of who ran our country. Biden didn't sign these documents, who did? Who opened our borders? Who destroyed our energy? And who pardoned the criminals? We deserve names, we deserve trials, and we deserve justice. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. The Autopen scandal isn't just fraud, it's a coup by machine. While Biden drooled on vacation, unnamed bureaucrats forged his signature to fundamentally transform America. They opened our borders, crushed our energy, and pardoned criminals using a robot pen. The DOJ investigation confirms what we suspected. Biden wasn't running anything. Radical operatives were signing away our republic while the president didn't even know what year it was. Every parent who lost a child to fentanyl, every family paying triple for gas, every victim of an illegal alien crime, they all suffered because someone played president with a signature machine. The math proves it's impossible. Biden signed those pardons. Someone committed massive federal fraud and they must face justice. So here is the question that matters. Do you believe Biden's Autopen pardons and orders should be legally void since he didn't actually sign them? Comment with your verdict below. And show you stand for constitutional authenticity at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, let's see what you guys said. You all said it was Gerald Ford, 34%. And yes, the answer is B, Gerald Ford. He sparked the first Autopen controversy in 1974, but at least he was mentally competent, unlike Biden, who didn't even know what was being signed. Looks like we got some super chats to acknowledge here. Tom B420 dropping $10. Thanks, Gary. Here's for the frogs and 3 for life. And then we got Kibbs Ellis dropping $10. Come on and do the locomotion with me. All right, thank you guys. We'll put the $10 in the jar. Do the locomotion. That's funny. All right. Let's move on to our next question. In 1954, which federal program launched Operation Wetback that deported over 1 million illegal immigrants in just months using only 750 agents, proving mass deportation is possible when there's political will? Was it A, FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, B, Border Patrol under Eisenhower, C, CIA under Allen Dulles, or D, the military under MacArthur? Answer in the poll, in the chat, or in the comments below. All right, let's move on to our next question, our next segment. They said it couldn't be done. They called it impossible, inhumane, un-American. But in just weeks, Trump's border enforcement has achieved what Biden claimed would take decades. Fentanyl seizures down 99%, gotaways eliminated, cartels running scared, 1,500 criminal aliens arrested in Massachusetts alone. A massive raid in South Carolina nabbing 66 cartel soldiers planning their next massacre. Palmer Luckey's AI towers now watch 35% of our border, detecting every smuggler, every trafficking victim, every invasion attempt. The Washington Post is so stunned they're calling the success mysterious because they can't admit Trump was right. What you're about to see will prove that mass deportations isn't just possible, it's happening right now. So keep watching. And just as Trump is protecting our borders from invasion, American bees face their own survival crisis that threatens our food security. Bees pollinate 1/3 of our food supply, but their populations are collapsing. That is why PatriotBeeBest.com is fighting back. This veteran-owned mission restores bee habitats, supports local beekeepers, and educates patriots about protecting our agricultural sovereignty. When you support PatriotBeeBest.com, you're not just saving bees, you are securing America's food independence. Subscribe now with code NEXTNEWS for 25% off. You receive the Patriot Bee Digest with actionable information and family-friendly content. Go to PatriotBeeBest.com. It's linked below. Protect the bees and preserve the republic. Catch the buzz today. And just as bees are essential to our food chain, secure borders are essential to our nation's survival. What Trump has accomplished in mere weeks proves that Biden's border chaos was intentional, not inevitable. The numbers tell a story of complete transformation. Today, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt laid out the truth the media refuses to report. If you are in the country illegally, you are subject to deportation, period. No more catch and release. No more processing centers that become welcome stations. Just the law enforced as written. Watch.
The president and the Trump administration have been very clear. If you are in the country illegally, you are subject to deportation.
Clear, simple, constitutional. The president and his administration mean exactly what they say. Illegal means illegal. And the depth of Democrat delusion was exposed when Eric Swallowswell suddenly discovered that we have a border crisis after Trump already fixed it. This is the same Swallowswell who spent 4 years denying any problem existed while he was banging Chinese spies. Now he claims Americans won't allow illegal immigration reform until the border's secure, as if Trump hasn't already delivered that security. Watch.
We do have a border crisis, and the American people will not allow us to work on legal immigration issues like, job vacancies in agriculture, food and beverage, hospitality, childcare, something that many Americans live with, until they believe that we have security at the border. However, what the American people are also saying is have a process as you deport people. Don't deport U.S. citizen children who are battling cancer. And that's where this administration, I think, is losing credibility with the American people. And now we're seeing that they can't deport the people who are threats to the community, and instead they're getting rid of kids who are battling cancer.
They're getting rid of kids who are battling cancer. Listen to him play that violin, right? Democrats can't admit that Trump solved the crisis because then they'd have to explain why they created it. The technology revolution, though, at our border, it's stunning. Palmer Luckey, the genius behind Oculus VR, has deployed 300 surveillance towers through his defense company, Anduril. Now, these aren't your grandfather's cameras. They're AI-powered sentinels that detect every movement, every crossing, every criminal attempt. Watch.
Well, you know I'm a huge fan of border security, and I know that border security and immigration policy are really different issues, and that even a lot of Democrats who want, I guess you could say, open immigration, agree that we need secure borders. It's truly a bipartisan or nonpartisan issue, regardless of what the spicier talking points from one party or the other might say. We need to know who's crossing our border. We need to know when sex trafficking, when human trafficking, when drug trafficking, when arms smuggling, when cash movements back and forth are going across our border. You're right, Anduril has hundreds of towers deployed on the southern border. We're covering about 35% of the southern border now. I think it is so refreshing to have a president who understands that border security is not a problem to be managed as if it's some kind of act of God or a natural disaster that you can, at best, slightly temper. It is a position that we can hold. It is an outcome we can secure. We can have a border where we know everything that's crossing back and forth. We can have a border where we control what comes into our country and what leaves our country. And I think that the recognition of that, seeing the success we've seen in the border security mission over the last few weeks has been fantastic. Now we need to figure out how to do it at a cost that's reasonable without having to surge quite so many people, particularly our brave men and women in the armed forces.
35% of the border now has total surveillance. Sex traffickers, drug mules, arms smugglers, all detected instantly. Technology defeating tyranny. While Trump secures the border, Democrats are attacking the heroes enforcing our laws. Congressman Dan Goldman bragged about confronting ICE agents for wearing masks, demanding to know why they hid their faces. The answer is chilling. Death threats against their families have increased 413%. Democrats' rhetoric is literally endangering law enforcement. Watch.
And I asked them, I said to them, what is the point here? Are you just trying to tally more arrests? I didn't get any real response. And then I said to them, why are you wearing masks? I was a federal prosecutor for 10 years. I worked with ICE agents. I worked with law enforcement agents. I never saw any of them wear masks. This is brand new. And the question is, if everything is legitimate and proper, why are you wearing masks to hide your face?
Goldman worked with ICE for 10 years but never saw masks. That's because agents never faced assassination threats for doing their jobs until Democrats made them targets. The scope of ICE operations is breathtaking. In South Carolina, Operation Last Stand culminated in the raid of the Alamo nightclub after a cartel after-party with over 200 attendees. The 8-month investigation netted 80 arrests, including 66 illegal aliens with ties to Las Zetas and Tren de Aragua gangs. Watch.
Joining us first at 6, new details on Operation Last Stand, a months-long investigation that led to at least 80 arrests near Somerville yesterday.
The Charleston County Sheriff's Office, SLED, and Homeland Security investigations shut down the Alamo nightclub off Highway 78, a place they call home to repeated dangerous and illegal activity.
And our Claire Weber joins us now live from that scene this evening of the sting operation with more details on how this all unfolded. Claire?
Katie, Tessa, officials say there were more than 200 people at this nightclub early Sunday morning for what they call a, quote, cartel after party. Now, one person who was here tells me they had no idea this was an illegal establishment. Still today, all you'll find are closed signs and locked doors.
Hands up! Hands up!
If you're involved in illegal activity in Charleston County, I can assure you there's no place to hide.
A nearly 8-month-long operation coming to a head Sunday at the Alamo nightclub. Sheriff Carl Ritchie says what started as a history of noise complaints soon became much bigger.
As we started noticing the assaults occurring in the parking lot, maybe some of the different illegal activity that was going on, that caused us to take a deeper look.
Around 3 a.m. Sunday, nearly 200 local, state, and federal officials served 116 arrest warrants to a total of 80 people. Homeland Security says more than 66 people arrested are in the U.S. illegally, some facing criminal charges.
A 13-year-old was found inside. Firearms, cocaine, and trafficking victims recovered. This was a cartel forward operating base in America. The criminals arrested include someone wanted for murder in Honduras. And Governor McMaster blamed Biden's non-enforcement for creating these cartel strongholds. Sheriff Ritchie promised that this is only the beginning. More operations are coming to restore order. Watch.
This operation was not only about immigration enforcement. It was also about restoring order, removing threats from our streets, and ensuring the safety and well-being of Charleston area residents.
One resident as young as 13. Officials say 10 underage people were removed from the establishment. A missing juvenile was found during the club raid, and possible trafficking victims are now receiving support from the appropriate agencies.
This speaks to the deeply troubling conditions at this location.
The multi-agency operation also recovering firearms, cocaine, large sums of currency, and other unknown substances, something SLED says is only possible by working together at every level.
We will continue to do that, and there will be more operations like this as we continue to work to bring justice to those who have been victimized and to also bring those to justice.
At least 2 people arrested are reportedly tied to the Los Zetas and Tren de Aragua gangs, and one now in custody is wanted for murder in Honduras. Governor Henry McMaster blaming past federal policy.
This is what we are getting as a result of the lack of enforcement and the non-enforcement of the laws under the Biden administration.
While still praising state and local efforts to shut it down.
We got the right team to do it. And you're looking at that team right now.
Sheriff Ritchie says the Alamo is closed for good and facing multiple county code violations. The investigation is still ongoing, and officials expect more details to come from this in the future. Working for you live in Charleston County, Claire Weber, News 4.
The Alamo nightclub closed forever. Criminal networks that operated openly under Biden are being systematically destroyed. The most stunning success is the fentanyl crisis reversal. Maria Bartiromo exposed how the Washington Post refuses to credit Trump for the mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures. 7,400 pounds seized this year, a massive decline because less is coming in, not because we're catching less. Watch.
The mainstream media is still refusing to credit President Trump for stopping and slowing the flow of deadly fentanyl into America via the southern border. The Washington Post is questioning the, quote, mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures, offering several explanations as to why it could possibly be happening. Not a single one crediting President Trump for a job well done. The Trump administration deployed thousands of troops at the border, expanded drone flights to combat the flow of illegal drugs. 7,403 pounds of fentanyl have been seized so far this year. It's incredible to me to see the Washington Post wonder why, and they say, Tiffany, it's mysterious. Wow, what a mysterious decline in fentanyl.
These are the headlines that just make you so mad at legacy mainstream media, because this is something that should be celebrated. They're just mad because they know it's President Trump's policies that are decreasing the flow of fentanyl. President Trump understood that fentanyl was a national security crisis, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. So he stepped up to the plate, showing peace through strength and saving lives, and they just can't stand it. President Trump called on China to implement 20% tariffs to stop the influx of synthetic opioids coming in, which we know fentanyl is a component. And China, we know China was shipping those components into the United States of America. Not only that, President Trump was tough on Mexico, bringing the Mexico president to the table and getting Mexican troops at our border as well. So this credit belongs to President Trump, and it's saving Americans' lives, and everyone should be behind it.
Trump threatened China with 20% tariffs unless they stopped shipping fentanyl components. China blinked. Mexico deployed troops. And the cartels are retreating. Then Tom Homan delivered the hard truth about Biden's legacy. The administration was handing out work visas like candy to unvetted individuals. 2 million gotaways vanished into America. We'll be dealing with Biden's national security disaster for the next decade. Watch.
And I've said over and over again, what scares me about the southern border, the sex trafficking, right? Sky high. The Americans dying from fentanyl. The people, all the drugs coming across, all the sex trafficking, all the smuggling. And I said what concerned me the most was they created the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. Not only did 2 million known gotaways, 2 million people cross the border, we don't know who they are, where they came from, we don't know where they are now. On top of that, even through the legal process, the Biden administration were bringing people unvetted, handing out work visas like they're candy, while they sat here and planned something bad. We are going to be dealing with this for the next 10 years because of the chaos they created in 4 years. We're out there kicking butt. We're arresting a lot of criminal aliens. We're out there looking for the bad guy. And when we're out there doing that, Sean, we got protesters assaulting ICE officers. We got members of Congress all over the country going to ICE facilities, raising hell, saying this is their oversight responsibility. Where were their oversight responsibility when 10.5 million illegal aliens came across the border? Where's the oversight responsibility on releasing over 8 million illegal aliens to this country? Where's the oversight responsibility then? This is an attack on ICE. This is an attack on the Trump administration. We're trying to fix the damage done by Biden.
Well, ICE agents arrest criminal aliens, protesters assault officers, and Congress suddenly discovers oversight after ignoring 10 million illegal crossings. Real-world consequences are immediate. In Boulder, the terrorist there was here on an expired visa that Biden refused to enforce. In New York, a Guatemalan illegal was just arrested for setting a woman on fire in the subway. These aren't isolated incidents. They are the predictable results of non-enforcement. Watch.
Well, this is, again, an act of despicable evil. And this administration has already done so much to ensure that we are deporting individuals who seek to do harm in our country and who are in our country illegally. In fact, ICE Boston just announced the arrest of more than 1,100 illegal aliens who were in Boston in the surrounding suburbs in Massachusetts, which was a sanctuary city for a state for illegal aliens. The only place this country should be a sanctuary for are law-abiding American citizens. And that's why the president has taken historic, unprecedented action to secure our nation's territorial borders, but he has also signed an executive order to streamline and make stricter our legal immigration process and our visa process. And I would remind anyone here who is on a visa, like this individual in Boulder, Colorado, came to our country. It is a privilege, not a right, to enter the United States of America. And we are not going to allow people who are pushing anti-American values and especially engaging in acts of violence to remain in our country. Your visa will be revoked and you will be deported.
She made it crystal clear. Entering America is a privilege, not a right. Violent criminals will be deported. Anti-American radicals will be removed. Here's more.
The president just put out a very strong statement condemning this attack. This terrorist came into our country under the previous administration. Joe Biden's administration foolishly gave him a tourist visa and that allowed him to unlawfully remain in our country. This individual should have been deported. Instead, he was welcomed here. And now, 3 years later, after coming to this country under Joe Biden's administration, he is lighting Jewish people on fire who were simply trying to peacefully pay respect to the hostages in Israel. This absolutely is an act of targeted terrorism. The FBI and the Department of Justice are investigating it as such. And the president is going to ensure that this individual is held to the fullest extent of the law. And not just this individual, but any individual, especially illegal criminals who engage in acts of terrorism, will be held accountable under this president.
The Boulder terrorist came here under Biden, was welcomed instead of deported, then attacked Holocaust survivors. That's Biden's immigration legacy, terror and death. The Massachusetts operation numbers are staggering. Operation Patriot arrested nearly 1,500 illegals in a single state. Over half had serious criminal convictions. The rap sheet that Levitt read should be burned into every American's memory. Aggravated homicide, unspeakable acts of children, kidnapping, murder. I mean, think about that. A Brazilian charged with aggravated something of a child and possession of images of children. A Salvadorian whose history includes doing unspeakable acts to children by force. Now, these monsters were living in American communities protected by sanctuary policies until Trump's ICE removed them. Every parent in Massachusetts can sleep better knowing these predators are gone. Every child is safer. This is what law and order looks like, not rhetoric, but results. The border technology revolution continues expanding. Lucky's towers use advanced AI to differentiate between animals, citizens, and threats. They track patterns, identify repeat crossers, and alert agents instantly. It's a kind of innovation that only happens when government gets out of the way and lets American genius work. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. So this is what winning looks like. While Democrats weep for criminal aliens, Trump's delivering safety to American families. 1,500 arrests in Massachusetts. 66 cartel soldiers captured in South Carolina. Fentanyl deaths plummeting. Child rapists deported. Murder suspects removed. The cartels that operated like they owned America under Biden are running back to Mexico. Palmer Lucky's towers see everything. No more gotaways vanishing into your neighborhood. No more terrorists getting work permits. No more American children dying from Chinese poison. The Washington Post, calling this success mysterious, proves they'd rather see Americans die than admit Trump was right. Every deported criminal means a family saved. Every sealed border section means drugs that won't kill our kids. Every cartel base destroyed means communities reclaimed. This isn't just policy. It's salvation for a nation that Biden nearly destroyed. Or the people running the Autopen. So should ICE agents who arrested those illegals who did horrible things to children, should they have to wear masks to protect their families from Democrat mob threats? What do you think about that? Answer below. If you want to support our work here at the Next News Network, you can do so by visiting our shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and wear your support proudly. Okay, let's see what you guys said. The answer, you said it was B, Border Patrol under Eisenhower. You got it right. The answer is B. Is there supposed to be an applause line? Yes, there is. The answer is B. Border Patrol under Eisenhower. Operation Wetback proved that mass deportation works with just 750 agents. Imagine what Trump can do with modern technology and thousands of officers. All right, we're going to move on to our next question and our final segment of the night. In 1930, what? In 1937, President Franklin Roosevelt attempted to pack the Supreme Court by adding up to 6 new justices, leading to a famous judicial response that preserved the separation of powers. Was it A, the Constitutional Crisis Accord, B, the switch in time that saved 9, C, the Judicial Independence Act, or D, the Court Preservation Ruling? You can answer in the poll, you can answer in the chat room, or you can answer in the comments below. All right, moving on to our next topic, our final topic of the evening. If you guys haven't figured it out yet, yeah, I'm not feeling well. I woke up with a horrible migraine today, and I'm doing everything to get this show out for you guys. So after this segment, I'm just going to call it a night because I am just, I don't know. Today was just a really rough day. But I'm here for you guys. I love you guys. I have a responsibility, and I'm here to fulfill it. Okay? Yeah, oh man. I don't know what happened. I woke up, and it was the worst headache ever. And I woke up with a headache yesterday. I don't know what's going on. I think it's my pillow. I take ibuprofen, I take Excedrin, and nasal decongestion, lay down, and after about 2 hours it subsides, but it just like wipes me out. It's crazy. Anyway. All right, let's move on. Federal judges have now declared war on our republic. In February alone, more universal injunctions were issued against Trump than Biden faced in 3 years. Single district judges in blue states are trying to override the will of 80 million Americans who voted for real change. They're blocking border security, energy independence, and basic law enforcement with the stroke of a pen. Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley just exposed these black-robed tyrants in explosive Senate hearings that happened today that left liberal professors stammering. One judge thinks that she can dictate national immigration policy from her courtroom in Seattle. Another believes he can control federal hiring from Portland. The Constitution's under attack by the very people sworn to defend it. The judicial coup is real, and what you're about to see is going to shock you. So keep watching and don't look away. And just as rogue judges create inflammation in our constitutional system, your body faces its own inflammatory battles daily. That's where Dr. Josh's turmeric breakthrough changes everything. After 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans escape chronic pain, this Connecticut pain doctor discovered a special turmeric extract that's 200 times more powerful than regular turmeric. This isn't just another supplement. It attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch. Patients report pain not only goes away, but stays away. No more expensive surgeries or painful injections or ineffective medications. Visit goldenrevive.com/NNN to learn about this incredible turmeric hack that's giving people their lives back. It's linked below. And just as Dr. Josh's turmeric attacks inflammation at the source, we must attack the judicial inflammation destroying our constitutional order. What's happening in federal courtrooms isn't justice, it's insurrection by injunction. The Senate Judiciary hearing today exposed the full scope of this judicial coup. Joel Alicia's testimony was devastating. During February alone, more universal injunctions were issued against Trump than in Biden's first 3 years combined. Every time Trump issues policy, a district judge immediately blocks it nationwide, forcing emergency appeals that flood the Supreme Court with rushed decisions. Watch.
During the month of February alone, more universal injunctions were issued against President Trump's policies than in the first 3 years of the Biden administration. The result has been an atmosphere of continuous emergency throughout the first few months of President Trump's second term. It seems as if every time the president issues a new policy, it is almost immediately followed by a district court issuing a universal injunction. Since the president cannot allow a single judge to dictate national policy, the administration has had to seek emergency intervention by a court of appeals. And whichever party loses in the Court of Appeals then seeks emergency intervention by the Supreme Court. The court has therefore been inundated with almost nonstop emergency litigation, partly because of the practice of universal injunctions. The seemingly unending stream of emergency petitions has forced the court to make quick decisions on controversial and contested legal questions, often without the benefit of oral argument, adequate briefing, or different views expressed by the lower courts.
The result is continuous emergency. And that's exactly what the left wants. Chaos through course, paralysis through procedure. Ted Cruz delivered a masterclass in exposing the scheme. He presented a perfect analogy. Imagine the government approves cutting trees for a pipeline. One camper files suit. The judge not only stops it for the camper, but blocks all tree cutting nationwide for anyone who might camp anywhere. That's not justice, that's judicial dictatorship. Watch.
We've seen district judges block President Trump's policies on immigration, energy, birthright citizenship, and even federal hiring and firing, all prior to any appellate review, all without any input from Congress, all from one single judge. Let me offer an analogy. Suppose the federal government approves a plan to cut down trees in a national forest to make way for a pipeline. One person who occasionally camps in that forest files a lawsuit. The judge not only grants relief to that individual, but certifies a putative class action on behalf of all campers nationwide and issues an order blocking any tree cutting in any forest used by any member of the putative class across all 50 states. Professor Blackman, is that consistent with the Constitution's design for judicial relief?
No, it is not.
Or is that rather a recipe for nationwide paralysis based on a single courtroom?
Yes.
Professor Blackman confirmed this violates the Constitution's design. It's a recipe for nationwide paralysis from a single courtroom. And Josh Hawley caught Professor Kate Shaw in stunning hypocrisy. She claims that judges can bind non-parties to their rulings since Marbury versus Madison. But when Biden's FDA rules on abortion pills got blocked, she called it a travesty for democracy and judicial impartiality. Her position changes based on who's president. Watch.
Let me just start with you, if I could, Professor Shaw. You talked about the fact that there have been lots of rulings against the Trump administration. That's absolutely statistically true. I disagree with almost all of them. In fact, I think all of them. But the issue of this hearing really isn't the rulings, is it? It's the remedies. Would you agree? And those are distinct things. You may think that the ruling is quite correct, but that's actually not what we're talking about here today. We could have a hearing on that. Maybe we should. But we're talking today about the remedy. And the question is a remedy that binds parties who are not before the court, is that an appropriate thing? I mean, aren't you concerned about judges binding non-parties in their remedies? You may love the ruling, but even if you do, don't you think it's a little bit anomalous for courts to be going out there and binding parties who are not before them? I mean, is that something we want to encourage?
Senator, I think that judges have been issuing rulings that impact non-parties since Marbury versus Madison, right?
So you're not concerned about it?
I'm not. I absolutely think that they can be abused, and
well, no, wait a minute. You were very concerned about it just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You said in response to a nationwide injunction on the Biden FDA's mifepristone rules, and I quote, "This injunction's a travesty for principles of democracy, notions of judicial impartiality, and the rule of law."
I think I've been consistent today. That was issued by Judge Kaczmarek in a single judge division. They're a problem. Those are a problem.
With him personally? Wait,
no.
Your testimony is if it's issued by Judge Kaczmarek, it's bad?
No, sir.
It's personal?
That is not my testimony.
Is the problem with the injunction? You were criticizing the universal injunction here.
Issued by a judge in a single judge division. I've been very clear today that those are a problem.
By a Republican judge in a Republican division, then it's bad.
No, Senator.
Otherwise, it's fine.
No, Senator. I think that single judge divisions are a problem.
What is the principal difference? I'm looking for a principle. I understand you hate the president. I understand you love all of these rulings against him. You and I both know that's not a principle. You're a lawyer. What's the principle that divides when issuing a nationwide injunction is okay when it's not? When the Biden administration was subject to nationwide injunctions, you said that they were travesties for the principle of democracy. You didn't say the referral to Judge Kaczmarek was a travesty. You said his injunction was a travesty for principles of democracy.
Hawley exposed her double standard perfectly. She's not concerned about judicial overreach. She's concerned about Trump winning. The liberal defense of this judicial activism is pathetic. Democrat Senator Whitehouse claimed that Trump-appointed judges are striking down his illegal actions, proving there is no conspiracy. But that's precisely the point. Even Republican-appointed judges are infected with this universal injunction disease, thinking they can govern from the bench. Watch.
Hearings like this prop up a narrative that bad courts are stopping dear leader Donald Trump because some cabal of Democratic judges is out to get him. Wrong. The reality is much simpler. He's breaking the law and doing it a lot, and judges are doing their job. It's not just me saying that. Trump-appointed judges from across the country have struck down his illegal actions, holding, for instance, that Trump can't punish the AP for its reporting, that his misuse of the Alien Enemies Act is illegal, and that the administration can't withhold billions of appropriated public health funds. Trump judges. Hardly a liberal conspiracy. As it tries to prop up Trump's illegal orders, the MAGA Justice Department is fast destroying its reputation with judges who've said about DOJ arguments, bad faith, shoddy, an admitted lack of any evidence whatsoever, deliberate evasion. Shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. And the prospect of contempt findings looms. Fact number 2, failing in court, Donald Trump and his allies attack judges and their families. Trump has called judges who ruled against him communists, USA-hating, and monsters. A Republican in Congress put up a wanted poster with judges' faces outside his office.
White House admits the judges are doing their job by blocking the elected president. That's not their job. That's usurpation. Senator Welch went further, claiming that we're testing whether separation of powers will endure and accusing Congress of abdicating constitutional responsibility. He called Judicial resistant to Trump's agenda, judges doing their jobs while attacking the president for criticizing them. Watch.
This moment we're in our country, is testing whether the separation of powers, three co-equal branches of government, shall endure. That's really the question. We've seen an abdication of constitutional responsibility by the Congress. It's appalling. But the second leg of that, the transfer of authority to the executive, is the rampant attack on the judiciary. And Senator Cruz gave some examples of what he thought was judicial overreach. Each one of those examples, as I see it, was the judges doing their job. They disagreed. And when they disagreed, it was asserted by the president and by the attorney general that they were monsters, they were renegades, they were out of control. It was an ad hominem attack because judges were doing their jobs.
Translation? Judges blocking the people's will is noble, but the president defending his constitutional authority is tyranny. Pure projection. The solutions proposed by conservative legal scholars are essential. Josh Blackman suggested automatic stays when universal injunctions are granted, giving the executive branch 24 to 48 hours to appeal before implementation. This would end the current chaos where presidents must scramble to emergency courts while policies hang in limbo. Watch.
I think one urgent need is to think about automatic stays. When you have district court judges granting universal injunctions and they don't stay their rulings, there's this frantic race to the Court of Appeals and to the Supreme Court, and the executive branch is not capable of actually changing policy on the fly, and that gives rise to these attempts at contempt proceedings. I would think about if a universal injunction is granted or a nationwide class is granted, stay the ruling for 24 hours, 48 hours, some limited period till he's taken appeal to the appellate court, and don't let the judge just ruled against you decide whether appeals to be taken. I think the automatic stay will go a long way to addressing these issues.
Professor Alsea. I think beyond Rule 23 and the enforcement of Rule 23, it's important to address the scope of injunctions not just through the non-APA route, but also through the administrative procedure route under Section 706. So I think that to the extent that we're going to really address the problem overall, you can't just address universal injunctions that are done outside of the context of administrative action, but also through the process that the APA sets up for challenging agency action.
Thank you, Professor.
Automatic stays would restore sanity to the system. No more government by judicial ambush. And Senator Kennedy delivered the most memorable smackdown when he told Professor Shaw he has little respect for her opinion after reading her partisan writings. He noted that she thinks nationwide injunctions taste like pumpkin pie when used against Trump, but are tyranny when used against Biden. Watch.
An article the other day. I'm not suggesting it. I just want your opinions. That said, if a president, any president, issues an executive order, let's say, that clearly violates settled Supreme Court precedent, that a federal judge can't issue a nationwide injunction. For example, if a federal a president issued an order that said no one in America has right to counsel any longer, including but not limited to in a felony case having the government pay for your lawyer if you can't afford it. That clearly violates settled Gideon v. Wainwright. In that case, a judge has no authority or does have authority to issue a nationwide injunction. But in a case where the law is unclear, a judge should refrain from that. Now, obviously, we'd have to trust our judges, but we're supposed to be able to trust them anyway. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with that, Senator, because I think universal injunctions transgress the limitations under Article 3, even if the underlying merits are clear.
I happen to agree with you. I don't think there's any basis under Article 3, under Supreme Court precedent, under the English common law for nationwide injunctions. I think politicians have helped judges, and many judges are politicians, to just make it up. And many of them are like Professor Shaw here. If they like the president, they're against nationwide injunctions. If they don't like the president, they're for him. Professor, let me ask you.
Kennedy and Cruz exposed these professors as partisan hacks using fancy legal words to justify their political preferences. The most revealing exchange came when Cruz asked the panel if they'd advise clients to defy federal court orders. Only Shaw gave a qualified answer, suggesting there might be cases where defiance is justified. When pressed, she admitted she considered it for sufficiently egregious orders. Watch.
Would any of you advise a client to defy a federal court order?
No.
None of you would? How about you, Professor?
I mean, under most circumstances, we follow the government and private parties follow court orders. I suppose it's not, I would not rule out ever the possibility that in a sufficiently egregious order, there should be some consideration of whether there's a way.
So in some cases,
I think it's a qualified answer, yes.
In some cases you would.
In an extremely narrow band of cases, I think it would be considered, yes.
Okay. Do any of you think that nationwide or universal injunctions are not being abused?
I'm not sure what if I may, Senator, I'm not sure what the time horizon of the question is. I don't think that there could be good faith disagreements about the correctness of some of them, but I have not seen in the last 4 months abuse. No.
I've read your stuff and I've read your writings. I don't want to get bogged down with this, but I have little respect for your opinion because I've read your stuff. When someone is in the White House that you agree with and someone gets a universal injunction against him, you don't like universal injunctions. You called them judges acting like they're politicians in robes and judges looking like crass political actors. But now that President Trump's in the White House, who you dislike, you think that universal injunctions taste like pumpkin pie. So I have to discount what you say.
So liberal professors think defying conservative judges might be acceptable, but Trump must obey every activist ruling. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. Professor Shaw's testimony was particularly galling. She claimed the administration's losses in court prove its actions are painfully unlawful and celebrate cross-ideological consensus against Trump. She bragged that lower courts unanimously ruled against the administration on birthright citizenship. Watch.
These are not about policy disagreements. The reason there has been such wide and cross-ideological consensus over the impermissibility of the administration's actions is because the actions have been plainly unlawful, and that has been clear to jurists of all stripes. Again and again, the administration has acted in violation of both the constitutionally required process for lawmaking, one that gives Congress primacy, and the rights the Constitution commands government to respect. To be sure, some of these preliminary rulings against the government will be, and some have been, reversed or stayed on appeal. But it is telling that there are so many lower court losses that the administration has not even bothered to challenge. That is true in the birthright citizenship case currently pending in the Supreme Court, in which the lower courts have unanimously ruled against the administration. But the administration has not challenged those rulings on the merits. Instead, it has asked the court to use the case as an opportunity to restrict lower courts' ability to provide nationwide relief, and to do that in a context in which the administration is not even defending the lawfulness of its own executive order.
She admits the administration isn't even fighting some rulings on the merit, instead asking courts to limit their remedy power. Smart strategy. Expose the overreach. But this isn't about policy disagreements. It's about whether one district judge in Seattle can override the president, Congress, and 80 million voters. It's about whether courts can legislate from the bench, creating new rights and restrictions never passed by elected representatives. The founders never intended for federal judges to have this power. District courts are supposed to resolve disputes between parties before them, not set national policy. When judges issue universal injunctions, they're not interpreting law, they are making it. Every universal injunction is an attack on our republic itself. It says that one lawyer in a courtroom can override the entire nation's elected government. It transformed judges from arbiters to emperors. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. This judicial war on Trump isn't about law, it's about power. Unelected judges think they can override 80 million Americans who voted for change. They issue more injunctions in 1 month than Biden faced in years, paralyzing our government with procedural terrorism. Ted Cruz and Kennedy exposed their scheme perfectly. One activist judge shouldn't dictate policy for the entire nation. And these black-robed tyrants are destroying separation of powers, turning courtrooms into super legislatures. When liberal professors admit they consider defying court orders they disagree with while demanding Trump obey every activist ruling, the game's exposed. They don't care about law. They care about stopping Trump. The solution is simple: automatic stays, congressional action, and judges who remember they interpret the law, not make it. The Constitution belongs to we the people, not a handful of Harvard lawyers in robes. So here's the question for you. Should federal judges who issue nationwide injunctions be impeached for violating their constitutional limits? Drop your verdict in the comments below. And you can show your constitutional pride at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, let's see what you guys said for the trivia question answer. You said C, Judicial Independence Act. Well, you got it wrong. Man, you guys were on a roll a couple days ago. I don't know. last couple nights. Oh, yeah, last night, tonight, I don't know. You guys are not doing too well. Maybe it's because you're not Googling the answers. Yes, the answer is B, the switch in time that saved 9. When FDR tried to pack the court, Justice Roberts switched his vote to avoid a constitutional crisis. Today's judges should learn that lesson. We have a couple super chats that came in from Elshara Silverheart. She said, can we deport the waste, fraud, and abuse that is unconstitutional? And then she also became a member. Welcome to the family. And then she dropped another $5 Canadian. Are judges meant to support the Constitution, not override it? Precisely. So, Patriots, what we witnessed today isn't just news. It's a complete vindication of everything we fought for. Democrats are so intellectually bankrupt that they're literally making blue MAGA hats and admitting we were right about everything. CNN confesses the prosecutions were rigged. Morning Joe admits they lived in lazy groupthink bubbles. Even liberal women are ditching feminism for traditional values because MAGA men have money and principles. So think about what we exposed tonight. The Biden Autopen scandal reveals the biggest fraud in presidential history. While Joe drooled on vacation, radical bureaucrats forged his signature on executive orders and pardons. The math proves it. Pardoning 2 people per second is physically impossible unless you're a machine. Criminal charges are now coming for whoever ran this shadow presidency. On our borders, Trump's delivering miracles they said were impossible. Fentanyl down 99%, 1,500 criminal aliens arrested in one state, child rapists deported, cartel bases destroyed, Palmer Luckey's AI towers watching every inch, while Democrats cry about poor drug dealers. The Washington Post calls this success mysterious because admitting Trump was right would kill him. Caroline Leavitt is revolutionizing the White House communications by simply telling the truth. She exposed the Boulder terrorists Biden protected, revealed the child predators in sanctuary cities, and destroyed fake news narratives with documented facts. No more cowering before propagandists. Just pure, unfiltered truth bombs. And those federal judges trying to rule from the bench, Cruz and Hawley, expose their unconstitutional power grab for all to see. More injunctions in 1 month than Biden faced in years. Liberal professors admitting that they defy court orders while demanding Trump obey every activist judge. The coup is real, but we're fighting back. The tide has turned so completely that being conservative is now cool. I'm MAGA is the hottest pickup line in America. Traditional values are back. The establishment that mocked us is now desperately trying to copy us. but you can't fake what we have: authentic love for this country and its people. So to everybody who sent in super chats and rumble rants tonight, you guys are the show. Your voices matter, and your support keeps independent media alive when big tech wants us silenced. We hit $40.17 and 3 new members tonight. Tell a friend about the raw feed. Share the stream. Text it to everyone who needs to hear the truth. And if you want to support the fight, check out our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Wear your principles with pride and show the world you stand with real journalism, not regime propaganda. This is just week 19 of Trump's return, and look what we've accomplished. The fake pardons exposed, the border secure, the economy recovering, the truth triumphant. They said we couldn't make America great again. Well, they were wrong about that too. Patriots were not just winning, we're teaching them how to win. So we'll see you next time on the Raw Feed. This is Gary Franchi, signing off.